Hi, this is Anna Runyon from ClassyCareerGirl.com, and today in my networking challenge, I'm speaking with Mary Foley. Mary is the author of 3 books. She's a national speaker and a host of a radio show. So I'm really excited to speak with her today. So thanks so much, Mary, for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Awesome. So let's get started with what are the most important questions we can ask ourselves in order to progress in our careers?
Well, I have spent 10 years in corporate America working my way up from an $8 an hour customer service rep to at AOL in the 90s, which I know for some of your listeners and some of your watchers would be like, what? That was so long ago. But imagine it was basically Google of the day because it was rapid rise, it was lots of change all the time, pressure to perform. And I went from the very entry-level position there to being the head of corporate training for 12,000 people in 10 years. And so I had, lots of promotions in a short period of time and lots of responsibility. So with that chaos came some opportunity. And so the 5 questions that I often, when I'm asked this, is the first one is, particularly for women, do you deliberately create relationships with really important people in your organization? And I think the thing is, women, we're all about having good relationships at work, whether it's coworkers, our boss, people in other departments, and all that's really good. But sometimes what we do is we default to those who are immediately around us in terms of creating deliberate relationships. So I'm talking about being smart about who gets to know you, particularly as you're making your way up into your career. If they don't know you, they can't even say, hey, Anna's really great at doing this. And so there's really 4 people in particular. I say, hey, if you want to narrow it down, think about, first of all, people who are in key positions in your company. And in particular, women, I think, that are just maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of you or where you'd like to get. They may not even have the job you want to have, but they're in key positions. And it's good that they know who you are. Mm-hmm. Another are people who are in charge of important projects. Projects right now, they're getting a lot of emphasis in your organization, in your company, make a big difference to the bottom line, big difference to how their growth is going to be. Another is going to be people affected by your team's results. Now, you may be a manager, you may not, but you're still probably working in some kind of small group environment. And who internally, a lot of people work in organizations and departments where their customers internal. And you can ask, get to know some of those key people in those departments or those project teams. And the other would be simply anybody you admire. You just really look up to this gal or this guy and you say, gee, I would just like to get to know them a little bit better. And all you have to do is simply make that short list, 2 or 3 people. That's it. Okay, so the second question I would ask is, when you want to really grow your career, is, do you thrive on shift and change in an organization proactively? The thing is, we've heard the phrase, change is inevitable, growth is optional. I mean, things are going to keep changing in your organization that you work for, in the company, in your career, in your life. So it's not about, oh gosh, I'm afraid of it. It's going to happen. So how are you going to respond to it? And I think the big thing is just being willing to respond, willing to have a proactive strategy. And, I'm happy to share with you a couple of ways to do that. I will say there's no silver bullet. There's no one way that actually, is true and it would work for everyone. But if you can start with the mentality, it's okay to figure out in the midst of all, the change is going to happen, and I've got to figure out how to adjust to it. And you can. I know every woman can. It starts with a belief in yourself that you can. The third thing I would ask is that can you say no without jeopardizing your career? Can you say no at work in all kinds of different forms? And the reason is because, first of all, no is partly about being able to pick priorities and understand with everything that's coming at you that you've got to get done, a new project, and more is being asked of us, not less. Can you be smart and really cognizant about, okay, where do I really need to put my time and my energy for myself and my employer as well? So, for example, let's say a coworker who keeps asking you to do work that's really somewhat theirs and they just don't know how to do it and that kind of thing. You can say, well, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. However, you can suggest somebody else or say, you know what, it's not really that hard to learn. I can't do it for you now. Maybe you do want to help them out. How about Thursday, a couple of days from now, for example? If you are a manager in particular, and people are giving you all kinds of input, but you're the decision maker. You can also say, listen, I really appreciate all the thoughts that you've given and all the feedback, but here's what I've decided to do. That's a way of saying kind of thanks, but it's a no in some form. Even your boss, you go, oh, I can't say no to my boss. Yes, you can, but what you're doing, how you say it is, let's say he or she comes to you and says, listen, Anna, we've got to get this done in 2 days, and it's this huge project or this huge report, something that he or she needs, and it's really important. Say, listen, okay, I can do this, but first, you got to let me know what can wait in order for me to put my time on this. So you kind of put back onto them. You're not saying complete no, but you're saying, hey, help me figure this out here. And a good manager will. They'll say, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, listen, that other report or that other, we can make that delay a few days. This thing's more important. Okay, great. Then the answer is yes. Another question I would ask yourself and growing your career is, do you embrace office politics? Office politics? Most women, I hate it. Because, we've got a lot of evidence for politics to be manipulating, conniving behavior. Whether it's governmental politics or, in organizational politics. Okay. But there's some good aspects of politics, too. First off, and this is what I really learned in my years at AOL. I wish I had learned it earlier. I wish I had done it better. But it was a lesson that I learned and I take forward, and that is office politics is really relationships plus power. Mm-hmm. That's really all it is when you boil it down. It's just the relationships plus power. And we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. About a woman I have met that doesn't want good relationships with people that they work with. Make the day more pleasant, get things more productive, all of that. I think it's the power piece we sometimes struggle with. Because we've seen abuses of power. We've seen negative uses of power. I think in particular, as you grow in your career, you are going to, if you can grow, what I'm saying, you've got to embrace power as you grow. And the power means responsibility as well. I've got more responsibility for a budget. I got more responsibility for people. I got more responsibility for results. Okay, here's 3 ways that you can use office politics for good and shift in your mind that power can be a good thing. One is that when you engage in office politics where you're leveraging relationships you've created, you're using the power that you have in terms of rank and other things in your organization and influence, you can really support positive company initiatives and show that enthusiasm. And when you do, other people will as well, particularly those who work for you. You can use office politics to get resources for your team. I need a bit more budget to get this project done. I need to hire someone else. That can be a good positive use of office politics. Another one can be, you can use office politics, particularly the manager, to recognize other people and help them grow in their career. Okay. I know we have that, it's the office politics snarling sound or something. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm just going to let that decide. Okay. So then the last question I think to ask is, and I just went blank. What is the last question? Hold on just 1 second. I will come to that. So the last question to ask is, do you have a personal career plan? I think the thing is that we end up, many of us, we get an education, we go to college, we go to university, some of us undergrad, some of us, postgraduate work. Okay, we know all of this information and we are technically competent in an area of expertise. Maybe, at least that's how we feel. We get the degree that says that, and then we get into the workplace and we actually utilize it. What we don't get oftentimes is we don't get advice and understanding how do I navigate my career? How do I even create a career plan? Mm-hmm. So I have found that I had to figure out sometimes just step by step or small piece by small piece, creating that career plan. I've already given some ideas of how you can start to do some activities, at least to start moving your career forward. That in and of itself is a plan. You may not know 5 years from now where you really want to be. It's kind of hard sometimes, particularly in this environment of change. But could you figure out what would be the next thing you'd like to do? And then what are just a few steps, 2 or 3 activities you can do that move towards it? Whether or not once you start moving towards it, you really want it, but you've got to start exploring it. And so having a plan, the bottom line, Anna, is this is about fully taking responsibility for your career and not expecting anyone you work for to show you how to do it. They may help, and if they do, great. But really, bottom line, it's your career and it's your responsibility to figure out how to navigate it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Sometimes people just kind of stay in their positions and don't worry about the next step. So do you recommend like writing it down?
I absolutely recommend writing it down. There's a lot of studies that show that when you write something, and I could type it
Yeah.
as well as handwrite it. I personally like handwriting it because it goes like, I don't know, a deeper level in me. And I love this thing I was reading recently about the difference between writing and thinking. Writing is thinking that it's a lot more methodical. You force your brain to think through it more clearly. The other thing is, I don't know about you, but I can easily forget.
Mm-hmm.
I can easily get not just sidetracked, and because I'm ADHD or something like that. Although some people that's more of the case that they have to struggle with. But it's just that we have so many things competing for our time on a constant basis. Write it down and put it up. I actually have a Post-it note on my monitor that says, "Clarity is power." When you write down your goals or you write down the next steps you're going to take in your career plan, that clarity in of itself and putting it in front of you is powerful. Now, of course, you got to act on it, but you got to get that mindset first.
So how often do you go back and look at it then? Do like a checkup?
Well, it's interesting. In my 10 years at AOL, I never expected to stay there 10 years, by the way. I thought, and it was my first job out of college, I just really thought I'd be there 3 months. I didn't think I'd stay there 10 and a half years. And I continued to ask myself about every 3 months how much I really enjoyed that job, how much I enjoyed that organization and the career satisfaction. So I would say there's no magic formula as to how often, but things are happening faster versus slower today. So I think in minimum every quarter or every 3 months, you need to kind of check in with yourself about your career plan. Is it still going the way you want? Have you done the actions to help to move it forward or to investigate different opportunities? And when I mean opportunity, sometimes that opportunity is, have I reached out to that key person that I really admire, and taken some action?
Definitely. Awesome. These are great tips. So this is the question I ask at the end of all my interviews, and that's, what is one thing you wish you would have known as a young professional woman just starting out in her career?
Well, it really has to do with this idea of confidence, is what I wish I had known. I thought that, that confidence, I want to feel confident, first of all, right? Who doesn't want to feel confident? And you get out of college, you get your degree, you're really, and that's an accomplishment. Anybody who does that is an accomplishment. I got an engineering degree, and the biggest thing I realized at the end of my degree was I didn't want to be an engineer. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was proud of that degree. Mm-hmm. And I really thought when I first was working in an organization that everybody else knew exactly what they wanted to do, knew how to get there, knew what they were doing in their roles. I really wish I'd understood we're all trying to figure it out day by day. So here's what confidence is not. To me, confidence is not, I know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and I have no doubts. No. Confidence is, I believe I can figure it out. So it's really about a belief in yourself. You bring to bear every piece of education, every piece of experience, and you go, listen, I got this far in life. I got through this degree. I've maybe gone through a couple of positions in the company. I can figure this out. And be proactive, both the things that you do and asking others for some help or advice or tips, like we're doing today.
Awesome. So where can people find out more about you online?
Well, I know it's really hard, but I have a website called maryfoley.com. But M-A-R-Y, and Foley is F as in Frank, O-L-E-Y.com. And, of course, when you go there, too, you can connect with me on Twitter or on Facebook. But one thing I wanted to share with every gal who's listening is I have this thing called the Sanity, Confidence, and Fun Action Pack. I think we're all kind of like Wonder Woman. Sometimes we wonder what the heck happened to our lives. It's kind of crazy in our careers. And I'm all about increasing women's confidence in their careers as well as sanity in their lives. So this action pack are 8 different items you can instantly download for free. Things like 5 empowering words for women, some more about thriving on shift and change, some fun mini posters, one that shows that it just says the first hurdle to success is between your ears. And the idea is I want to share what I've learned. I want to share some of my experiences so that other women can benefit. So you just got to go to maryfoley.com and you can instantly get it.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out. Well, thank you so much for being here, Mary, today. It was fun talking with you.
Great talking to you, Anna. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. So this is Anna Runyon from ClassyCareerGirl.com.